Hello, name's Caleb Corville. This is Bayou Ballistics. We're going to be going through the FTH 202 curriculum from Sonoran Desert Institute, revolvers, particularly the Taurus 856 38 Special. It is a 6-shot. Now, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. 4 things we're going to be going: hand, sear, cylinder stop, and hammer strut. I'm going to try and do this as fast as possible. Here you have the hand. What happens whenever you... What does the hand do, you ask? Okay, it pushes up right here. Alright, it's sticking through. It engages this ratchet pad, okay, on the back side of the sear, forcing the cylinder to turn whenever you actuate the trigger and or the hammer. Okay, what happens if the hand is worn and or broken? Well, the hand can't do its job, simply put. If anything is broken in here, it can't do its job, but specifically it can't actuate that ratchet pad, and in turn you'll have an out-of-line cylinder to the forcing cone here. And also in turn you'll have out-of-line cylinder and or primer to the firing pin. So you'll have a failure to fire. Okay. Next we have the sear, which we have multiple sears. In here we have the double action sear and the single action sear. Single action sear being the one that the hammer affects the trigger, and the double action being the one where the trigger affects the hammer. Okay, so you can see actuating the trigger pushes up on the hammer, and on the single action the hammer pushes up on the trigger. Okay, so what happens if these sear surfaces are messed up? Okay, aside from having a rough and or heavy trigger pull with those unpolished and or rough surfaces right there, you could possibly have a failure to cock and a failure to lock. Now, what happens with a failure to lock and a failure to cock? Well, if you see here, pushing up on that, so you won't be able to do that. Simply put, you won't be able to do this either. And in turn, you won't be able to fire the weapon. It won't be a failure. It won't technically be a failure to fire, right? Because it happened earlier in the cycle sequence of operations. But still, though, you won't be able to fire the weapon. Okay, cylinder stop. The cylinder stop sits right here, right above where the trigger sits, right? In fact, the trigger helps push the cylinder stop up. Yeah, so see that? So the yoke, there's a little plunger on the end of the yoke right here that goes inside of the shaft, of the yoke shaft, right here. In there, pushes on the cylinder stop like so, forces it up, stops the cylinder. Okay, so what happens if the cylinder stop is worn and or broken? Won't stop the cylinder, right? So what happens then? You will have an out-of-line cylinder. Could actually cause the trigger from not being able to move right. But in this case, it could cause a failure to fire because technically speaking, you will still be able to pull the trigger and the hammer in the case that I'm talking about, but your firing pin will not line up with your primer, and the round won't line up with the forcing cone. So, well, yeah, even if it does fire, then you've got probably gonna have a big problem on your hand. Moving on, the hammer strut. Hammer strut sits right here beneath the hammer. It forces that hammer up, right? So let's go ahead and cock the hammer back. Alright, so look at that. See all that tension in that spring? It's a lot of potential energy right there waiting for that sear surface to engage and or disengage and allow that hammer to go flying forward, striking that transfer bar, and in turn the firing pin. Right? So, thank you, Ruger. Okay, well, and those are the 4 things that we're covering in the curriculum for assignment number 3. Assignment number 3. Thank you all for watching. If you got anything out of this, I'd really appreciate you letting me know. Again, thank you very much. It's a very short barrel, so I'm not expecting it to turn much at all. Anyway. Yeah, I would call that an 1/8 safely. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. I went ahead and put my finger down here by the forcing cone. Stopped it from going too far. I'm going to go ahead and mark. That's where we're going to measure to the flat tip of the... Oh, what am I doing? Okay, I'm going to measure up to here, not the tip of the jag. I'm going to measure right here to the flat portion. And I think we're going to come out with 2.125. Okay, so I'm looking through a camera to do this. Okay, yeah, 2 1/8. 2 1/8. 2 1/8 broken down comes out to 2.125. I'm gonna go ahead and multiply that by 8 because we did 1/8 turn. And we're going to come out with 1/17. That is our twist rate on the Taurus 856 38 Special. That is my Taurus in particular. It's not going to be every single Taurus. Every firearm is a fingerprint. But you know, yeah, really enjoyed the assignments. Thank you very much for watching. If you did watch, I appreciate it. Thank you.